Hi, my name is Michelle Yurovsky, and I lead the product team for analytics at UiPath. Some of you might have seen me in some recent conferences. I just spoke about insights at a Google Next conference and at Looker's Join at Home conference, and I had a blast. And through some of that public speaking, I realized I probably want to give the YouTube thing a go. So here I am. Before I start any of my videos, I just want to make sure you guys know that though I work at UiPath, this is my channel and not affiliated with UiPath. So any views or opinions I have are mine and don't represent those of the company. So now that we have that out of the way, let me tell you a little bit about myself and how I got to UiPath and the product team and my general journey. So I started off majoring in biology in college, actually. I thought I was going to be a doctor. And after my first semester, I found out that I would have to give up my AP chemistry credit and take 2 semesters of Gen Chem if I wanted to get into medical school, which for me was huge because I had worked so hard to get a 5 on the Chem AP, so didn't want to do it. And I decided I was super interested in nutrition because after my first semester, I had a fantastic nutrition professor who really inspired me because he started thinking about nutrition in a way that I had never thought about it before, as this way to kind of cure people with food as opposed to pills. So I was very interested in nutrition, and my junior summer of college, I got probably one of the most exciting internships I could have gotten at the time with Weight Watchers in New York City. And I was psyched. I thought, wow, this is it. I found this great opportunity. This is perfect. And the longer I spent in that internship, the more I realized that I didn't think corporate nutrition was for me. In fact, I didn't think any kind of nutrition was for me. I felt myself leaning more and more towards their systems, trying to understand how their database worked, spent a lot of time working in an internal database of theirs, and just kind of started having thoughts about how I could improve it, what we could have done better. And I had no technical background at the time. So one of the senior leaders of engineering noticed me kind of thinking around the database and having these thoughts, and he sat me down, and after a 20-minute conversation, he convinced me that I'm in the wrong field and I should be studying computer science. So that's what I did. I went back to school my senior year, taught myself the prerequisites for about 3 computer science courses, stuck about 5 CS courses in 1 year, and saw my friends twice, while also finishing out my nutrition degree. So my senior year of college was definitely a lot of school. And after I graduated, I got really lucky and I got this great internship with a nutrition startup where I got to do both of the things that I loved. I got to do nutrition consulting for them and also kind of develop my engineering skills. So I started off doing web scraping, data scraping. That turned into a full-time job with them where I developed their iOS app, still in the App Store actually, which is pretty exciting. And I really learned how to code on the job. I think that was probably the best opportunity I had to really become a good engineer because I was the only engineer in the States. There was a team in, I believe, Bulgaria, maybe Poland as well. But in the US, it was just me. And I was the only female engineer. So there was a lot of culture shock coming from working with a globally distributed company, being the only female on the tech team, and leading a project by myself. So I learned so much, and I'm so thankful for that opportunity. And after a while, they actually ran out of funding, and I realized it was time for me to move on because I had to pay rent in New York City. So I got recruited by UiPath, and I think one of the things that really attracted me to the job I got recruited for, which was actually as an RPA developer, was that I would be spending time talking with customers and building things for customers. One of the challenges I had with coding was that I spent 8 hours a day, honestly, a lot more, talking to a computer, and I was bored. You can't have a conversation with a computer in code. You can't delight a computer. You can't have that kind of reward system that comes with building an automation for a customer and watching them light up. So I took the offer and I had a great time. Through my onboarding, I just kept understanding that UiPath was the right place for me. That kind of culture that we had when I first started at the company 4 years ago, I'd never heard of at a company before. Granted, I hadn't worked at a startup, but that was my first experience of working with a company that was truly all about its values: fast, humble, bold, And I think the thing I liked the most was how transparent people were. If they didn't like something you did, they told you, but it was okay because you had room to fail. So after about 2 months on the job, I was on my way to my first client meeting and I was very excited about it. It was actually in Massachusetts, so I decided to take my car and drive. 5 minutes from the client site, I was at a red light and a woman was texting or not paying attention, and she actually rear-ended me, probably around 35 to 40 miles an hour. As you can imagine, I didn't end up feeling so great after that. I had no idea how bad the damage really was until about 5 days later when I was on the subway in New York heading to another client meeting. I passed out, and I've never passed out before. So that was clearly an indication that something was wrong. And I was so lucky because I was with a coworker and he caught me before I hit the ground. So I walked out of that experience with some bruised knees, but I could have walked out of that experience with another concussion or worse. So I'm very thankful. I think he saved my life. But after that, I started realizing that I couldn't travel, and part of my job was traveling at the time. And I needed to find something that was going to work for me while I recovered. So I started thinking about the kinds of things that I enjoyed working on before I had gotten into the accident. And one of the things that really drew my attention was analytics. When I was onboarding, there was this thing called Kibana that we were supposed to learn about, but nobody really understood. I think there was like a 30-second blurb that we were supposed to memorize, but I felt like there was a lot to explore in this area, especially given the fact that I could really understand why it was so important to be able to have an understanding of what your robots are doing. But like I said, there was no one who could really answer questions about it, especially when customers asked. So I figured that was it. Somebody had to learn it, and it was going to be me. And I had no idea how interested and passionate I was going to become in analytics. After being a super analytical person my entire life, looking back, it makes a lot of sense. But at the time, it was just like a light bulb went off. I think after switching to a technical career and working alongside people who had literally a degree in the same field that I was just trying to make it by in, definitely felt a lot of imposter syndrome. And a lot of the time I felt like I wasn't keeping up. And so for the first time, when I was working on analytics, I felt like I just got it. I was working on something that made a lot of sense to me, and it just came super naturally. So I started working more and more in the analytics field. I developed some integrations. I started becoming the go-to person at UiPath for analytics. And at the time, the company was small enough that I was getting recognized for that. So one day, the director of product management for analytics reached out to me and asked me if I knew somebody that would be interested in a position he had for his team. Little did I know he was actually asking if I wanted to take the position, but I had no idea that that's what he meant. So I recommended my mom, who has some really deep knowledge in data warehouse and has been a developer for her entire life. So he did interview her, and then he came back to me and said, I was hoping you would take the job. And I didn't know what product management was. It was this thing that I had vaguely heard about. At the time, product for me was such a black box because I was on the other side of the globe working on the customer-facing team, and product was all in Bucharest, which is where our company was founded. So I never really interfaced with them. I didn't know what they did. And we were just starting to build out our product team in Seattle. So analytics fell under their umbrella. And I took a leap of faith and decided, you know what, I really wasn't happy with the kind of work I was doing on my old team. It started getting more and more implementation focused, which is a really good fit for a lot of people, but it just didn't feel creative enough for me. I wanted to build new things. I wanted to have my own ideas. And frankly, I wanted to run things. When I was a little kid, my parents called me Little Boss because one time my dad was putting me to bed and I started crying because he was wearing a Hugo Boss shirt that said boss on the front. And, after a while, he was like, Michelle, why are you crying? And I said, where's my shirt? Little Boss. So you can see it comes with the territory for me. But I fell in love with the job. And after a few months in the product team, I got lucky enough to have the chance to take over the lead position. And so I did. And that's what I've been doing for the last almost 3 years now. And some of you have seen me talking about Insights, which is our analytics product, which is what I own. And I've gotten so involved in so many aspects of the platform through running Insights. And I've grown to love the company because they've really given me an opportunity to just find my place and find the right career for myself. So the rest of the videos that I'm going to post are going to be a mix of analytics and RPA and why UiPath and what it's like to be a woman in tech, and any other topics maybe that you guys are interested in. So looking forward to hearing your thoughts. The next few videos that I'll post are actually excerpts from my speaking engagements at my recent conferences. And I hope to hear from you soon. Have a good day, guys.